Now the pressure is off. Okay. Well, I am deeply honored that you've all chosen to spend another 2 hours of your life behind the screen. We all, it's that healthy balance of education and information and enrichment behind the computer screen, but then also, getting off and out inside in the summer. And is it officially summer? Anyway, you know what I mean? I'm hopefully going to make these 8 weeks as rich and powerful and exciting as possible. And let me amend that. I don't do it, the geometry does, right? I am here of service to the geometry. And today, here's our agenda for today. I want to go over what the 8 weeks are about. I will send you a syllabus as well that has all that written down. Everything that I do in the class is either on the recordings, you'll get the Zoom recordings, or you'll get PDFs. You don't ever have to remember anything we're talking about. You'll have what you need to continue drawing, because that's the idea, is that you have the tools to access your higher states of consciousness through geometry. So we'll go over the 8 weeks. I'll tell you a little bit about my story and how I ended up here. And then I want to invite everyone to share a little bit about yourself, why you're here, what your interest in geometry is. And then we'll get into a little bit of information and an overview. We'll do some drawing, another little bit of information, and some more drawing. So that's my vision for the 2 hours. And honored that you've taken the time, but also so excited. I've been teaching this for, I've been teaching sacred geometry for about 8 years now, but I realized I've actually been facilitating groups for about 20, which is, am I that old now? So let's see, syllabus or me first. There's a natural progression. I'm talking about me here. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you why I'm here and how I showed up to be teaching sacred geometry. And then we'll get into the syllabus and we'll just flow. That's the thing, is I'm really about following where we want to go, following the pulse and the rhythm of the group. And we will get to everything in the syllabus, but it might morph and flex with different days. So I'm going to start off by telling you why I'm passionate about this stuff. So yeah, I was a psychotherapist on an inpatient psychiatric unit for 10 years, right? And that was 12 years ago. So that was kind of like my former itself, and it was really an amazing job. I felt like I completed my time in mental health. It's a very, the pathologizing and diagnosing and reactive and medicating, it is of service. It has a place in the world, but I very much wanted to move towards health and integration and whole, living. And so not knowing what that meant, I had enough of a foundation. I had devoted myself to a spiritual practice for about 15 years, I'm sorry, the timeline is a little tricky now. So when I was 25, I started my meditation spiritual practice. When I was 30, I headed to New York to continue that practice and that meditation. And that was where I worked on an inpatient unit. It was in New York. It was a full-on tour of duty that decade. And then I just knew, my spiritual practice, I was complete with my position, and it was my evolutionary jump. So I took a leap of faith, not knowing what that meant or what was coming. I just knew it was time. And I very shortly thereafter found unified physics and sacred geometry and a whole lot of activating and opening doorways, right? That, I was in this void of potential. It was very uncomfortable. And so I started drawing the geometry, and it helped anchor me. I had this predictable structure while my entire identity and spiritual energetic system was being restructured, right? So that's part of why I love it so much, is because a lot of people come to this class, they find geometry in a transition, right? Where they're moving through things, and this can be a real bridge and a guide. And I love it. I love offering it that. I first discovered geometry, just like you, I took a class. I just found it and I was like, that sounds fascinating. So I started drawing and compulsively, and lots. And so my friends, almost hundreds of pieces I just drew. And my friends were like, you should have an art installment. And I was like, I'm a therapist. I have no idea what you're talking about. But it worked out, and I figured out how to put an installment up. And then, of course, there's walls and walls of geometry, and everybody wants to know about it and wants to know what my thing is. And so I started talking about it. And it was this natural progression to start and teach. It's a comfort zone for me to be with groups on some level. So I was like, okay, I could do that. And I started teaching at community colleges and local metaphysical stores, and there was just always an interest. And so all of that is to say that as soon as I heard the call and leapt, the geometry showed up and then continued to encourage my evolution, right? Because it's bringing us into alignment. When we're drawing these harmonic shapes, we are bringing ourselves, we're entraining ourselves into that harmony. And when we do that, we open ourselves to alignment, and then our guidance comes through more clearly. And then the next steps and the next steps, and usually beyond your comfort zone, right? The invitation will always be there. We can get to it or not. But I just decided to keep leaping. And then this next part I'm going to share, because I want to open the forum up that you can go as far as you want, because I look relatively normal and I am not. I am one of the more far out people you're going to meet. I just pass in everyday life for, a regular person, so I can move in all the worlds. But the geometry, we're talking the universal language of math, right? And so that led me to a fascination with crop circles and the geometry in the crop circles. And you'll see them peppered everywhere throughout the weeks because they're just an inherent expression of the geometry. And so then studying the crop circles led me to studying the circle makers. And so I started to connect with off-planet intelligences, looking at my life and other aspects of myself in other dimensions and other galaxies. It got really far out, and it paced itself with me. My expansion, I only progressed as much as I could, right? The invitation is always there. But I started learning about my multidimensionality, started understanding myself as so much more than this 3D form. And this was all coupled with my spiritual practice, daily meditations. Back on the unit, I had therapists, I was doing all sorts of my modalities, but this is all partnered with a way to ground in the expansion, right? And that's part of what the geometry does, is we're in the 2D, but really these geometries are 3D. They're actually multi-D. We're going to draw the tesseract, which is a fourth dimensional shape, doesn't even exist on this planet. So all of that, I expanded really far out, off planet, simultaneity, bring it all up. I welcome it. I will invite you to the next step, and sacred geometry will take you wherever you want to go. So I'm sure there's tons more. Couple of things about the course in general is, I mentioned in the meditation, your higher self has guided you here. You have brought yourself, you are listening to the call, and this class is fun with some shapes and some drawing, but really this is about you tuning into you. This is an energetic transmission. Maybe you'll remember some of the details, probably not. So it's just tuning into that receptive state, that yes, that made you sign up for the course, where we don't necessarily know what's coming. We just know we're welcoming what's coming. And I am on the metaphysical end of the spectrum. I will always acknowledge the mathematics and the science, because the geometry is amazing that way. It covers everything. There's not anything that doesn't have geometry in it. So all is welcome. Just know I'm on like the spiritual end of the side of the spectrum. And energy transmissions, and I will follow you wherever you want to go. I'm at your service. I will do the best I can. And this is designed to be participatory. Please, I'm going to go at everybody's pace. It's very important to me that we move together as a group. There is so much psychology in the sacred geometry, right? That's part of what makes it sacred, is it's this neutral shapes, neutral geometry. And in that, it reflects our psychology back to us. Our process will show up very shortly today in about half an hour. So the opportunity is always to use that reflection as a learning moment. we'll use the group process to hear each other. It is so important to connect and hear each other's experience, because part of the learning is in that shared experience. And so I will value the group process. It's one of my favorite parts, is we're not just drawing, we're drawing with each other. Super high vibe group of folks here that came together today. And I'm sure there's lots more. I'm sort of tired of hearing my voice. So let's do introductions and then we'll get into syllabus and go more into the stuff. So I always invite everyone to share. And if you are in a place of not wanting to share, I also like to just hear your voice. So if you could come on and say, I'm just going to be quiet, but thank you, that's fine. But we are creating a field, a shared field. So energy and voices matter. And Terry's always good at throwing in questions, but no, I have not met Drinvalo Melchizedek. He lives here in Sedona. Oh, that's where I am, by the way. If you want to let us know where you are and what brought you to the class, what your interest in sacred geometry is, what your familiarity is, and maybe what you're looking for. Also, if you've drawn before, or if you have an art background. Now is the moment when we pause and see who will jump in first.
I can.
All right, Dana, thanks.
So I'm Dana, and I live in Dana Point, California.
Oh, funny.
And so I love art. I've always loved art, and but I have been sidetracked for many years off making money in the regular world. And so now at the age of, when I was 59, I decided I was going to go back to school. And so I've been pursuing a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, and I would love to be able to get rid of the other ways of making money and just use my art. And so along with maybe some medical intuitive skills, and then help others through art and medical intuition. Here's a piece of mine from my art class, just by coincidence.
I was wondering.
Yes, thank you. Anyway, so this was really important to me when I have met with like a spiritual teacher that I've had in the past. They said, sacred geometry is going to be a big part of what, and it always just shows up. Like I have been following Robert Edward Grant on Facebook.
Yeah.
And taken a few of his little, he just will get on and do like a freebie half hour or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I've just been very intensely interested in it. And I've never really pursued just that. When I saw this class came out today, I thought, oh my gosh, that's just perfect. So, and I've never seen it before, just popped up today. So must have been meant to be. Really
the class, or you mean you've never seen it before?
I'm sorry, what? The what?
Which part haven't you seen before? Like this class or
your class?
A class. And did it come through Eventbrite, or how did you?
I was just browsing around on Facebook, and it popped up under events.
Okay, that is fabulous magic. Well done.
Yeah. Did I answer? I try to remember everything you said to talk about.
You did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm really happy to be here with you guys. Thank you for accepting me at the very last minute. And I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you beautiful ladies too.
Wonderful. It's true. We have a group of beautiful ladies. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dana. It was literally like within the last hour or two that you signed up, right? That's so great.
I know, it just popped up and I was like, I'm doing it.
Awesome.
I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Perfect. Wonderful to have you here. Okay. All right. Who's next?
I'll move on. Hi, I'm Carol. If that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I met you last week at dance in Sedona, and it was, the way you walked up to me and just said hello, it felt like, and you mentioned what you did. I just immediately said yes, because it's something I've been drawn to for a long time. I used to have some activation cards, sacred geometry cards. And at times I would see the images in my third eye when I was sitting in the sun, but I never thought about drawing anything. And when you said that you teach that, I'm like, wow, that's like, I want to do that. And you mentioned activation, and my intention in using the sacred geometry is to bring out my own abilities, expand my spiritual self. I work as a healer doing hypnotherapy and Psych K, and still developing all of those skills, but I'm also learning innate healing using vibration and intention. So there's so much, and when you think about what sacred geometry means in our energy bodies, are, I don't know, it just excites me. I also thought that it would help me in my exploration of fractals, because there's something about fractals that fascinates me, and I know they're distantly related, but I'm still figuring out how. And also, I'm a Scorpio, so I like dig deep and try to go as far as I can into anything. But I also want to study gematria for whatever.
You mentioned that. Mm-hmm.
So there's just always something to learn, and I'm really excited to be here and studying with you, and grateful that we met last week.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Carol. Yeah, there's always something to learn. I mean, that's part of why I do this. It's just endlessly fascinating. I did a Metatrons workshop with a woman who channels Metatron, and it's for this whole, breath work and Metatrons and huge transformational thing. And not by any means to say that I have any kind of expertise on the grand scale, right? But I got hit with brand new information from Metatron and like totally different perspective. So it's never a dull moment. It's never the same class twice. I have a lot of people who do the class multiple times. And there is always something to learn. And just so all of you know the backstory, in Sedona, they have ecstatic dance. It's just part of my community. And I went up last week, and I've made a commitment in any kind of social gathering to just meet one new person. Just go up and say hello and introduce myself. But I saw Carol, and it was like, oh my God, I know her. And I swear she really does look like someone that I did just meet, but it's all just in the like field of synchronicity. And so I went up and introduced myself that way. And I was like, have we met? And then it was just so clear, if you will, that the geometry like brought us together, because I just beelined for her. I was like, that's my person I'm going to meet. So I'm so glad that you're here now.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Okay. Who is next? Somebody jump in a second ago.
Okay,
All
I'll
right.
jump in.
Okay.
Okay. I'm Nancy.
Have we met before, Nancy? You look really familiar too. No?
I know. In
Okay.
fact, I get I'm friends with Judith Corbin Blackburn.
Yeah.
And she sends out a weekly little message that's always kind of fun. And at the bottom of it, she had you. And I thought, ooh, geometry, like that was my favorite thing in school. I loved it. And because I know her, I know a little bit. And so I thought, this is really interesting. And I told my husband, I said, boy, this really pushes my comfort zone, but I think I'd like to try to learn to draw these, because I've been, just like coloring mandalas for the last 6 months. And I just love it. I'm just fascinated, and it just takes me into this really deep space. But I feel like, well, it's not really art. I'm just coloring, somebody else's art. So I don't have any art background. And I think somewhere along the line, I had an art teacher that told me I had no talent. And so I don't think I do. But on some level, I know that, of course, I do. I can do this just like anybody else. And that's what you said. And so I went out and I got my compass and I got my drawing paper, and and I'm ready. I'm really excited about it. And I do believe that we are drawn to these things that we're supposed to be drawn to, and that will help us expand and that all of that. And I for me personally, I've been meditating and doing yoga for over 50 years. I teach yoga and meditation, and I'm involved in a global sangha that is going pretty deep with inquiry and meditation and chanting. And so I just thought, this might be a really nice fit. And so I stared at it for 2 days and then decided to hit the button and join. So that's what's going on.
So beautiful. Oh, you said so many things that I want to expound on. Yeah, it's user friendly. This class works for kids in every age, and I really break it down so that it doesn't have like that threatening, oh God, this is a huge skill set. And so I'm glad you jumped in. And yeah, you will get you making your own mandalas. It's just vastly more fun that way. And I'm so glad you went for it. And it's interesting because most people had a traumatic geometry class, but your art teacher, why are people even teachers when they're going to tell you stuff like that? Like, what? That breaks my heart. So this class, so for you, it's the art trauma that, hopefully this is reparative, right? Hopefully it's, like, I mean, I've been studying the 5 for a while, and it's really helped me like math. I like it a little bit. So
I love math. I love math. I love physics. I love geometry, solid geometry, all of that. Yeah. So that part's good for me.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna love this. And then one other thing, because maybe you got the link somehow, and Judith took the class last time, so maybe you're in Eventbrite and I just didn't see it. But that reminds me that if you didn't see my email for like a little reminder for this class earlier today, keep an eye out for, the email flow into being is me. And just, sometimes spam kicks things back, but keep an eye out, and I'll make us all into one group where I'm sending out PDFs and the recordings and all of that. So it won't go through Eventbrite. Look for that personal email because you can't do PDF attachments in Eventbrite. Okay, great. Well, I am the last to know. That's fine. Cool. Okay, so Sawa and Terry, let's keep it going and we'll keep on going. All right, Terry, yeah.
Okay, you came to me from Viola Rose, her School of Remembering. And several years ago, I studied in great detail Drunvalo's Volume 1 and Volume 2, the Flower of Life books. And in one of those, or maybe both of them, I can't remember, it said the importance of drawing these things. And he said, just take, and so I started doing that, and I thought, this is not right. And I realized how detailed it is. And so I've been wanting to do it and had this desire to draw these things, and knowing that it's like, just on my own, I'm not going to be able to figure this out, because I tried it and it just like, okay, I had no idea that there were classes on this. And when Viola mentioned it in the last time I took her class, I've taken it 4 times now. And in my company, we teach soft skills, these interpersonal courses for businesses and things. And so taking some of Viola Rose's classes is some of what our staff does. And so that's why I've gone through so many times, because it's, when my staff members go through or something, I go through with them. And so I know that there's something that I'm going to learn. There's some portal that I'm supposed to go through. I've been studying the holographic universe, which is something that Viola recommended to kind of, go along with Drunvalo's work too. And that's been incredibly powerful, that you just let go of all beliefs and preconceived opinions and just kind of go with what happens. And that's really interesting, because like I've been defined as like a AAA personality, really kind of driven. So to step back over the last little while and try a new way has been incredible. And so I really have so much faith in Drunvalo's work and living in the heart workshop and things. And I just know there's some pieces I don't quite understand. I'm trying to put together some pieces that seem a little disconnected, but I know they're not, between some of the things I'm studying. So this, I just knew, as soon as I found it, and then I have to be really honest that I'm really glad. I think you said you were leaving the Star family. You guys were disconnecting from that. My intuition is that was a very important step.
Oh, sure.
For you. And I'm really glad to heard that you did that. So that gave me actually a little more faith that you are on the right track, because there seemed to be a difference in the energy fields
Mm.
in the two of you. And so I says, okay, and I'm not surprised that was part of your journey. So I'm just really excited. There was someone that did a testimony from your last class about the healing that happened in her heart or something. I thought, okay, I'm not surprised. I don't know why. So I just want to shout out to everybody and say, it's really neat to be part of this group, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also super interested in the crop circles and what happens with those. And I've watched the video several times that you have about that, and showed it to several people I know. So I know that's an important piece as well. So just thank you to everyone. I look forward to this journey a lot.
Awesome. Great to have you here, Terry. As far out as I am, Viola is 10 times farther. She's my dear friend. We've been partners in crime for about 10 years. So glad. I will thank her again. I think I thanked her for sending you my way, but glad you found
I highly recommend her 4-day workshop. It is, I've never seen anything like it. And it is, very reasonable. I'm appreciative to her that she keeps the price where it is reasonable, because sometimes that's a step of faith. And I know a lot of others are far more expensive. And every time I take the class, I learn more and more. So this is a part of that quest that I have with Dronvalo, and that he said it is very important to learn how to draw these things. And when you draw them, as opposed to just looking at them in the publications and things, it makes a huge difference. So that's what I'm kind of still following his instructions.
That's why we're here. All right. Thanks, Terry. It's true. It's absolutely true. Okay, Sawa, am I saying it right, Sawa?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Sawa. I'm originally from Japan. I live in North Carolina. So obviously my English is not my first language. So excuse me if I get very nervous speaking English, but well, I just listening to everybody speak about their background and stories. I feel like I learned so much already, and I feel like everything everybody says exactly what I would like to say, but it's just so hard for me to explain. But geometry, that's something I've been always wanted to learn, but I did not like math. I don't like math. Somebody said they I'm not a math person, but when I looked at every time I look at this beautiful shape, to me it's an art, and I wanted to draw. I've been thinking about this for a while, ever since I came to the States a couple of years ago. Then I found you, and then you said, you don't have to have a experience to be able to do this. So I said, I wanted to try. I really wanted to try. So here I am. And I'm very thankful for this opportunity, and I'm very grateful to be here, and so to learn with everybody. So nice to meet you.
Wonderful to meet you. I'm so glad you're here.
North
Carolina. Okay, so we've got California, North Carolina, Sedona ×2. And then Terry, where are you?
Yeah, I forgot. Pensacola, Florida. That's up in the Panhandle.
Okay.
Just about 30 minutes from Mobile, right across the, Florida-Alabama line. So we're the first city in, white sandy beaches here. It's beautiful.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got some East Coast. And then Nancy, where are you?
I'm from Springfield, Illinois.
Okay. All right. From there or there right now?
I'm here right now.
Right now. Okay. All right. So we got all the time zones.
I'm actually in Cottonwood and not Sedona,
Oh, that's right, Cottonwood. Right.
but I did live in New York for 22 years, New York City, so we may
Okay.
have crossed paths there.
We may have crossed paths. No, I was upstate, so
Oh,
it was a
okay.
little bit of a buffer, but it's its own world.
Yes, that's true.
Not enough. So, okay. So I am just, as I said before, honored and excited that you're all here because I have the privilege of knowing what the other end of the course can be, and it's really transformational. And so, yes, we're drawing. Yes, there's all sorts of fun, exciting tricks and tips and drawings to learn, but there's also just profound potential in the drawing for a transformation. And I'll give an example. I tend to talk when I think I have all sorts of time, I tend to talk too much. So I'm going to rein myself in and we'll do the syllabus and then we'll get into the information. Today, we're going to do the seed of life and then it's the toroidal field, but it's also called a sunflower, really beautiful. And we'll also do a decagon, a dodecagon, 12-pointed star. We're going to see how it all comes together. And we're going to start by really getting that everything comes from the seed of life. Everything, every shape we're going to do in these entire 8 weeks starts with 7 circles, which is just profound. And the amazingness of it will build. Like over the 8 weeks, it just gets more and more mind-blowing that it all comes from the seed of life, and the interconnectedness, part of what the geometry does is it starts to break down the illusion of separation, right? This is part of what makes it sacred is everything has geometry. When you start to realize that everything has a geometric pattern, you start to get a sense of unity consciousness, like the interconnectedness that all of the sayings, we're all connected, we're all one, we really are geometrically speaking. And so, challenging your worldview, beginning to question things, paradigms, beliefs that have kept us separate, it's all part of the process, so there's this larger element of sacredness in unity. And then there's the more personal sacred quality of unifying yourself and coming into deeper connection with yourself, with your process, which is also sacred, right? So we'll be looking at that as above, so below, relationship throughout the whole class because we are the cosmology, right? It is us, there's the holographic reality, we are, and it's all related. So sacred and why it's sacred. And here's the 8 weeks and subject to change. So today, seed of life, sunflower, toroidal field. And I want to say it's a dodecagon because it's a 12-pointed. Decagon would be a 5-pointed. And you're going to know that difference by the end of the class, right? So here's today. Next week, super awesome, Metatron's cube. We're going to do Metatron's cube and the Platonic solids. We're going to learn about some of the fundamental geometries of our reality. And we are going to have 1 or 2 visitors jump in on that class because I just taught an 8-week class from Portland Community College. It just ended. For some reason, my internet glitched out so badly we couldn't have the class on the Metatron's class day, right? So they didn't get Metatrons. Now, here's the deal. I had no idea. I had some idea. I did not have as much of an idea as is possible how fundamental Metatron's cube is, right? The entire rest of the series was thrown off because we didn't have the Metatron's cube day. I can't tell you, it surprised me the entire time. I just kept wanting to reference it and it was absent. So they will be, I think it's just 1 or 2 people jumping on next week with us to learn Metatron's cube. And Platonic solids. All right, now these are in no particular order, sort of, but in a general way. We're going to look at the vector equilibrium, which is the shape of free energy. And these names aren't going to mean anything. I'm just going to throw them out, and they'll familiarize you with them as we go. And then phi ratio, we're going to learn the golden mean. That's a really fun class. And cymatics, we're going to look at the study of sound in form, right? Looking at frequency and how it takes form geometrically. And then we've got the polygons, right? We've got pentagons and pentagrams, and we're going to look at the difference between polygons and polygrams. And penta and pentagons and pentagrams, that's 5-sided geometry. Heptagons and heptagrams are going to be 7-sided geometries. And we're going to look at like the occult magic of these shapes, like why and how they've been used to really influence our consciousness. That'll be throughout the whole course. 5-sided, 7-sided, and then 9-sided, so nonagons. And with the polygons in general, we're going to do some meditative practices, right? We're going to see throughout the whole course how to bring meditation and breath work into the drawing, into your practice to really deepen it and, kind of create a holistic experience, right? Because we can draw, we've got our left brain, what are the details, what are the steps? And then when you bring the breath in, you begin to allow for the right brain to have some breathing room, literally, and bring in that partner creative process. And, we'll look a lot at how the geometry in its alignment balances the right and left hemispheres of the brain, on and on. Oh, I knew I forgot something, the flower of life, right? That's part of, that's fundamental, right? That's after Metatron's cube. I knew I was skipping over something. So the flower of life, and then also we're going to focus on the dodecahedron, which is a platonic solid, which is like its own party. So we'll learn a bunch of different ways to get into the flower of life, to get into Metatron's cube, and the polygons. So 5, 7, and 9, and also 10, but then 8, right? The tesseract, the polygon, the 8-sided, also known as the hypercube, right? This is the geometry of time travel. This is the shape that doesn't exist in this dimension. So that's down the road a little ways. And by that, we're a little cracked open. We've got some new neural pathways. And that class is really gonna invite contemplation into other dimensional realities, right? To start to take it to the next level, literally, and move beyond this third dimension. And then that encourages a perspective shift that really, it's just an evolution of the geometry and where it takes us. And then we've got the 64-star tetrahedron, which I don't have in front of me, but it's the bones of the flower of life. And you'll just have to trust me. It's fascinating and fun. I'll send you the syllabus. You'll have all of that written down. Again, no need to retain. I'm sure I'll always pause and go, any questions? But it's a little bit absurd. Do jump in with any questions, any inquiries. If it seems like or if I'm saying things that don't make sense yet, please slow me down. I'm happy to tease things out. That's the nutshell. Any thoughts or questions before we get into the information? Very exciting. All right. Captive audience. I love it. All right. Screen share. Here we go. So I think I'm preaching to the choir, right? When we talk about the universe, our known reality, as frequency, energy, and vibration, right? Like this is how we know our physical reality is through the underlying invisible patterns that then geometry makes visible, right? So vibration can be described as frequency, and then cycles per second. And frequency can be expressed as numbers, and then we get the geometry, right? So this is the meeting point between physics and metaphysics. This is how we bring the immaterial into the material, and it's how we we access the power of the energetic reality, right? So this is what Terry was talking about, and this is what Drunvalo mentions. This is one of the resources I will send you. This is from a YouTube video called Spirit Science. Really awesome resource, like many, like 12-minute vignettes about all sorts of esoteric information, right? Chakras and astral travel and other planetary civilizations and sacred geometry. So this is a 2 minutes, maybe even a minute and a half clip of Patch and talking about geometry. So we're just gonna validate what we're doing here today briefly.
Everything in the universe is geometric.
Can everybody hear
Whether
it?
it's people, trees,
Yeah.
cats,
Great.
planets, solar systems, stars, you name it. Anything in the universe can be measured on a geometric scale. Having said that, it's important to note that creation is also geometric. What we're going to be looking at today is the pattern of creation. Essentially, what this means is that everything in the universe comes out of this single pattern. I'm not making this up. This single image will change everything. When I mentioned in lesson 5 that the ancient Egyptians and even more ancient civilizations knew about a deeper, basic understanding of the universe, this is the flower of life, and it is also the creation pattern of everything in existence. Even non-tangible things, emotions, thoughts, music in its entire spectrum, everything comes from this image. Okay, so there are 13 information systems that comes out of the flower of life. Today, I'm going to show you how physical reality can manifest itself, which is just one of the 13 systems. In future lessons, we will look at more. It's also important to note that at first it may not make sense. I ask that you do not choose immediately to shut this out, and just watch with an open mind, and try and see this in a new way. Also, I want to tell you that by learning about sacred geometry simply by observing, you are absorbing only a very minuscule amount of information. If you really want to learn more, you must begin to draw it yourself. I kid you not, when you do this, you begin to see things in a new way. You begin to understand why things are done in the way that they are done. Promise.
Patch, highly recommend that the channel. Go check it out. Lots of cool stuff. And just to reiterate, as I have before, it's very sneaky that the stuff has the ability to really activate, right? And so we'll be checking in a week after week with noticing, dreams, noticing synchronicities, like starting to connect the dots about how the geometry could be, will be, and is influencing your life, right? I can almost guarantee it at this point, but I don't like guarantees. So today we're going to look at a couple very, very fundamental shapes. And this is really about remembering, right? This is the phi ratio. This is the golden mean spiral. And all of this is in our psyche. All of this information sits in the 95% of the subconscious mind that governs our waking reality, right? All of this geometry, it's everywhere, but we tune it out, right? We have been tuned out of that connection. And so by studying the geometry, we are reconnecting, right? We are remembering, we are reconnecting that these patterns happen on planetary scale, on cosmological scale, right? This phi ratio is everywhere. It's, in the physical obvious realm, but then it's also in the molecular structure of our being, right? The phi ratio is the design of our DNA. And so when we're drawing these shapes, we are connecting with the geometry that is us, right? Well, in a couple of weeks, we'll draw the phi, and the harmonics are extraordinary. The more I get to know it, the more I fall in love with it. Nancy, this is as mathy as I'm going to get for the entire course, pretty much. This is the math that I've really learned to embrace, in that the phi ratio, that perfectly curving shape, is contained within a structure and a mathematical equation called the Fibonacci sequence, right? And this is a shape that will collapse or contrast infinitely inward and infinitely outward. And I'm just going to pop out really quick. Lately, my study, my path is taking me on the inquiry of infinity. Like, our brains and our culture does not want us to think about infinity. And right next to that is the fact that we are infinite beings, right? And so the phi is this infinite number. So you'll hear me sort of begin to contemplate, like, what about that reality, right? There's a whole story to that I want to let you know where my personal process is, like, hey, infinity, that's where it's at. I'm on that track. All right. So you've got this spiral and this equation that will not end whether you expand inward or outward. And what it is the two equations, or the two integers, either add on themselves or subtract. We're going to focus on the adding part. So you see the pattern here is 1 and 2 is 3, 2 and 3 is 5, 3 and 5 is 8, 5 and 8 is 13, adding together the 2 to make the third one, right? So this equation is part of our physical form, right? If you start at the fingertips, that segment of 2 and 3 is 5 down to the knuckles, 3 and 5 is 8 down to the wrist, right? And you can go on. I think I have these out of sequence, sorry, but this, right? You can move from the fingertips to the wrist, and then that equation is also to the elbow. This is a little mixed up here. The ratio is in our whole bodies, right? And the 2 and the 3 and the 3 and the 5 is creating this spiral that is everywhere in our bodies, right? Every little bit, this ratio, this harmonic, our brains, where it spirals and would end up in the pineal and the seat of the spirit. It's everywhere. And this one slide is out of sequence, so I apologize for that. I'll come back to it. This is the ratio that speaks of God to me. God, source, spirit, however you consider it. Check this out. This is just a larger orchestration. So you can read the equation left to right, which is how we do that, right? 1 and 2 is 3, 2 and 3 is 5, standard, on and on to infinity. But then you can read this equation on the far right column. 2 and 3 is 5, 3 and 5 is 8, 8 and 13 is 21. You can read it down as well. Then if you go over to the first column, same thing, 5 and 8 is 13, 13 and 21. I mean, that's really cool. Left to right, final column, first column, and then the central column as well. You can read the phi in this entire, either way you want to go, this equation is going to give you phi. And that, when I saw this slide, it really kind of popped my brain a little bit, because that is just way beyond what human consciousness could orchestrate. It really invites contemplation of larger existential reality, right? The number sequences, we're going to look at this throughout the course, right? Number sequences are too precise, they are too synchronistic, they are too organized for the confines of our limited our cultural programming, right? Like we couldn't, I don't want to downplay our intelligence, but really, from my perspective of moving with advanced civilizations, I find humanity quite primitive. It's very easy for me to say, I don't think we could have come up with this, but we'll look at, where this information could have come from, right? This is where we want to be with that segment here. This is the next step. That's the Fibonacci sequence that we just looked at, but here's the ratio. Here's the proportion. So this is segment A to segment B. And we really will go into this a little more in the phi class, right? But segment B is segment 1, right? This is the proportion of 1. And it's related to segment A, 1 to 1.618, right? So this isn't a relationship of 1 to 2, right? This is a relationship from 1 to 1.618, which is what creates that infinity loop, right? It just will never end because of that precise mathematic. So, and then just to go back to this one slide, which I really have to get back in place, here's the segment of 1, and then like tip to the elbow would be 1 to 1.618. Also, tip of the finger to the elbow would be 1 segment, and then so tip would be the 1, and then if you tip of the finger across to the shoulder, that's the 1.618. Head to navel, 1, and then head all the way down to the feet, 1.618. Like our bodies are this ratio or the spiral or the equation, like this is us, right? So as we draw it, we're drawing ourselves. All right, so back here we go. It's in humans and it's in art. It's in everything that we do, and everything enduring or iconic includes this ratio. It draws upon it, it incorporates it. And so we recognize it. It's a dodecahedron. So we recognize it and we resonate with it, right? So all of these archetypal architectures, right, that we see that are lasting, that ratio is in here. That's why it's enduring. That's why it's part of our collective psyche, right? Because it incorporates that proportion and it creates a harmonic. That's what we're resonating with, is this underlying harmony that is part of who we are. We're resonating with the planet and its harmonics, and it's all the geometry, right? And you start to go, oh, okay, well, who else knew about this a while ago? Who was really utilizing the power of geometry, right? Arts, architecture, music, everything has geometric form, right? We are going to, I believe we're going to get to this today. And this is the Dodecagon I was talking about. This is the 12-pointed star. And this just plays with the structure of music. But music in its spectrum, right? The chords, the octaves, we'll look at that in a couple of classes, how there's amazing geometry within music. And then Nancy, this slide is for you. I have 2 slides in here that include square roots. And that's it for all 8 weeks. So this is it. So this is the relationship of the phi starts to take us into the triangle, right? And the pentagram, right? 5-sided triangle. And here's the relationship of the phi to the star, right? Here, the green segment is the 1, and then the pink is the 1.618, right? And every single element of this form of the pentagon and the pentagram incorporates phi and that ratio. Also incorporates pi. This is the other geometry slide. And this, the square roots and the mathematics, I wish, and I'm learning how to bring in more because it's tremendously satisfying. I've just recently gotten into the genius of right angle equilateral triangles. There is really satisfying math in this. So I'll just hint at that, and we'll learn about it along the way. But you can see how the phi is related to the pentagon and the pentagram. And then again, just starting to bring our attention to where it is in the world, how it's everywhere, right? And as we start to remember that it's everywhere, we start that connection process, right? We start to remember that we don't exist in isolation. And this is, in part encouraging us to get out in nature and to create that harmony with our geometry and with the geometry of nature. The other piece, speaking of architecture, is that the geometry has been used to influence us both for the detriment and the well-being of our collective psyche, right? Here we've got the first 2 circles, right? We've got the 2 circles of creation that come together and they create that beautiful central shape called the Vesica Pisces, right? And it's that portal of infinite potential. It was originally a symbol for the divine matriarchy, right? The birthing portal. And because it's so primal, it's been very utilized to tap in with the archetypal imagery that we have in our subconscious programming. And it was how, we shifted from a matriarchy into a patriarchy, right? This stuff is so subtle and it's just everywhere. And so the more you start to tune into these shapes, the more you can have a reclaiming, right? We have been influenced. And when you have that reclaiming and that sovereignty, you can look at advertising, you can look at marketing and you go, hey, I see what's going on. I'm not going to buy in. So it's this level of empowerment that's, it's very subtle. It's also not so subtle, right? But it's an inherent part of all of this. But it's not like you'd put your finger on it. It's just happening. We're just starting to put our finger on things that have been very covert, starting to bring them into the overt awareness. So here's these 2 circles, right? We saw those together. And then in the center creates the shape, the Vesica Pisces. We'll go into all of this more. And then that gives us the shape, the pentagon, right? You can see the relationship here between the 2 circles that begin everything. And then the second relationship is to the hexagon, right? And the phi is woven in here. It's just not in this image. But the hexagon being the 3rd shape that today we're just going to go, hey, here's another fundamental geometry that's everywhere. And it is so vital for creating our reality. It is the most efficient, intelligent way of packing information. You need to think about the honeybees. If you think about the fact that this shape, someone once asked me, they were like, well, wait a minute, squares fit together without any loss of space, right? But that's such a cool question because if you have hexagons packed flat, there's no loss of space, but it's only with a hexagonal pattern that if you curve the shape, it's still going to fit together. It won't lose any space. Whereas with squares, they wouldn't fit together, right? So the geometry is, we're talking about intelligent design of conducting energy, right? Crystals, all the various organic natural shapes that we are starting to catch on to, right? And use in our technology. We've got some amazing images coming back from the James Webb Telescope, but same thing, right? Like we're on to something, an organic intelligence and an ancient intelligence and wisdom. shape of a water crystal, right? The hexagonal pattern, and we're going to segue into sacred geometry, which is based in a hexagon and 6 sides. But this is one aspect that I always like to bring in Dr. Masaru Emoto's work on the influence of our energy, our intention on water and the energetics of water and the structure of water. Right. So, because of we are composed of, primarily of water, and heads were nodding. So I'm thinking you're all familiar with the studies where, he measured the influence of the different words on the water. And so this is just the structure of geometry reflecting how important it is, how important our words are, how important our energy is. It's just unmistakable. And the more you learn, this is another thing, it can shift your consciousness as you start to go, oh, I understand from another angle how important energy is, how influential words are. And I'm moving fast here. You guys are great. We want to get a lot done. So hexagonal pattern at the North Pole of Saturn, right? If you ever want an interesting study, Saturn is a rabbit hole of fascinating information. There's a lot going on in those rings. And then, of course, 6-sided geometries, you're going to see a lot of hexagonal patterns in crop circles, right? All of the 6 sides, it's more than curious, right? This beautiful harmonic, it's, I do a lot of classes on the crop circles because they are based in that resonant form, right? They're communicating so much through geometry. It's a whole other conversation. But then we get into the next hexagon structure, which is the seed of life, right? So we've got that 6-sided shape. 7 circles going to give us the foundation for every single geometry in the known universe. Fabulous. Seed of life goes on to the flower of life, right? And then again, just going into that piece about it being sacred, right? Sacred sites, temples everywhere use the flower of life. Right. So here is the food dog in the Forbidden City that guards the temple, and in its paw is a 3-dimensional version of the flower of life. And just beginning to connect the dots, right? No pun intended, beginning to connect the geometries. These shapes and these images are everywhere. Whenever humanity reveres something, it is usually associated with sacred geometry, with the flower of life. And that, again, just like the mathematics, speaks to a larger orchestration, right? A larger plan, a larger architect, right? We'll look at the star tetrahedron, right? The 2 triangles inverted on each other, the geometry of our Merkaba, right? Our light body, it's really everywhere. And the flower of life in particular was found in the Osirian temple in Abydos, Egypt, right? This is a temple without any hieroglyphs. It's just open stone, except for 2 images of the flower of life that were holographically burned into the stone, right? So a technology that we, so to speak, don't possess right now. And, further implication of, other sources, right? Lastly, the seed of life mirrors and replicates our first cell bifurcations at conception, right? So the 2 circles mirroring the original split onto the 4 circles, and then the 8, and then into the 64, the flower of life, the 64 spheres, and then it, cytoblasts off to billions to become a human. But what we're saying here is that whether it's the phi or the seed of life, we are the geometry, right? When we're drawing it, we are drawing ourselves. We are, that's what Patch and Durnvalo are saying. It's like you are entraining your system into that harmony. You're bringing it into your consciousness and activating, the finite form that contains the infinite, the finite geometry that can hold the infinite flow of information. 20 minutes or less. There we go. Let's start drawing. You get the gist, right? It's a lot of this is the gist and the overview and the recollection. And then we'll do some drawing, and then we'll do a little bit more info. Let's do some compass orientation here. Let me grab mine so I can show you easy ways of drawing. Right. You'd think I'd have had it right by me. Okay, does everybody have a 11 by 14 paper? Or great. Okay, and then can I see everybody's compasses and what you're using? All right. Great. Okay, fabulous. Usually it's one of any of these. So awesome. It really doesn't need to be a specific compass except the instruction I gave at the beginning, which is just not a plastic compass. They are useless. All right. There may be some instances where I ask our shape to be large, and sometimes there's a limit to how wide compasses can go, but we'll work with everything. Okay, so who's used a compass before? Was anybody? Yeah. Okay, Dana. Okay, a little bit, long time ago. All right, gotcha. Okay, so with a compass, as you're starting, I like to have it be, an inch or wider, because the smaller you get on your compass, the harder it is. So just starting with a nice open stance. I want to encourage you to train yourself from the beginning to only use the tip of the compass, right? It's this maneuver, and it's like learning the chords on the piano. If you practice and start with good form, it will serve you well, because if you grip it down here, you're going to change the width of the circle, and it gets very unsatisfying. So do give it a try. That being said, there's two ways to get into the circles. The tip that works for both of them is to anchor your compass nice and strong, and then tilt the compass away from you, right? Because then you're dragging, right? You're not having that, straight up and down, got to have resistance on the circle, right? The way you can do that, there's two ways you can do this, right? Oh boy, it's fun. One, the way that will always get you a circle, very satisfactory, is to anchor your compass and then spin the paper underneath you, right? You're going to get a beautiful circle, predictable circle every time, right? As you practice, as we go along, it is a good idea to start to train yourself with the spin of the compass, but that will come organically. It'll just happen, but it is really great to start by spinning the paper, and just as we get the feel of it. There's pluses and minuses to doing this in a group, right? We don't get to move at our own pace, but we have a lot of learning. So it's that balance of learning in the group, but then also taking time for yourself and practicing outside, and then getting more and more comfortable. So let's do some practice circles. Yeah, Dana.
I just realized, I'm sorry, I overlooked this detail. This compass is designed to hold a little lead on it.
No problem.
And it doesn't hold a colored pencil. And so I think it'll work for this week. Okay. Well, I'm kind of disappointed. I can't do a color, but I'll practice during the week. I'll go get the right kind of compass.
Yeah.
I just didn't even put it together that this compass does not hold a colored pencil.
Yeah, no problem. That is one of the reasons I work with this one. But did you get that in a kit? Is that a kit one?
Yeah, it's a Stadler, I think, is the brand.
Yeah.
That I've had for art class. And even though I said I've done it before, I have to say I'm not very good at it. It's hard to get that thing to anchor right and turn it at the same time and get consistent pressure.
Yeah.
And so it does take a lot of practice. Even though I've done it before, it's still hard. Anyway, I'll order one on Amazon and probably have it by tomorrow, or I'll just go to the store and get one. Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, no, we don't need the colors for this time. We will want it for next time though. But that's
Okay.
You're just giving all the reasons for homework or home play or practice, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, because it seems like, oh, that'd be easy, but it's counterintuitive and it takes just some trial and error.
Yes.
And then, yeah, we don't do any coloring in the class, which is like, oh, wouldn't that be fun to color? But that's part of the invitation, is to go and color between the classes. And I will say, the more you give yourself time between classes, the richer it gets. It's profound. It's like homework of any kind. It deepens the experience. And then I've learned to actually give space before every class to say, hey, who drew something last week? And that's not a pressure. The geometry is like weaving its way into our reality, whether we're drawing or not. So you will always have opportunity to share and inspire others. And I do like to encourage some geometry during the week. But you're fine without that type of compass. No problem, Dana. And are people practicing just doing some circles? Because that's all we want to do is use this time and just get a couple under our belt. We don't need too many, especially if you're just going to spin the paper for now. But it's that familiarizing yourself with a circle. Like, it's so cool. The circle is so primal. And I was saying, I go to a place called the Alternative for Med Center. Right. It's a rehab center that's they really like incorporate a lot of different ways to repattern your life. And they bring in a sacred geometry class every week. And one thing I was saying, whether it's transition or recovery or whatever, or just any day, this stuff is so predictable. You are always going to get a circle. You will always get these shapes. And that is so comforting in this world where there is very little predictability and certainty. So it's been a very comforting practice. So all of that is me talking while we're practicing, but I think it's time. Does everybody feel like they got the circle under their belt? Okay, great. So I'm going to go into the screen share and show you the progressions of the seed. What we want to do is have a 2.5 inch radius, the radius being the width of the compass. Using your ruler, measure yourself 2.5 inches, right? It does not have to be precise. This is not a class about precise mathematics, as I've indicated. So we're only doing 2.5 inches because it's the biggest radius that we can have and still stay on the shape, still stay on the page, all right? So 2.5 inches. If you would like to measure to the center of your page on your paper, by all means, feel free. We're going to start in the center. I tend to be an eyeballer, right? If you can just approximate the center, no problem, go ahead and do that. If you would like to measure on a 14 by 11, 11.5 by 14, it is 7 inches in on the horizontal and then 5.5 inches up on the vertical. And that will get you the center, but here's where the psychology starts to arise. Boom, from the beginning, right? Perfectly imperfect. We will not achieve precision in this class. I can promise you that. But we will learn from imprecision. That's the promise. Okay, so these circles are going to be in a progression from the top to the bottom, but yours is going to be starting in the center. So go ahead and place your compass point on the center of the page and draw your first circle. Ta-da! There it is. It's a climactic moment. Such understated beauty, the circle. So even if you have colored pencils, even if your compass won't hold it, go ahead and darken in the center of that circle, because that will be our reference point. We're going to keep coming back to that circle, just like spiritual practice, right? We are all always moving around the center, right? All right, how's it going with the tools and the compass? Everybody got their first circle? All right. Anybody having any difficulty with their utensils? This is usually where we find the glitches. All right. First circle, darken that in. Okay. Yeah.
So you said, let me ask a question. So you said this is supposed to be like 2.5
2.5 inches.
right across here? Okay.
Yep. Perfect. That's 2.5 inch radius, and that's going to give us a 5 inch diameter. Right, so the radius is the width of the compass, and then the diameter is the width, the total width of the circle. Right. All right. And I can only have 4 of you on my screen at the same time. So if you have a question, you jump in with your voice because I might not see you raise your hand. Okay. And if I move too fast, you'll have to let me know with your voice, and I will always slow down and make sure we're all coming along at the same pace.
Yeah. May I ask, what did you mean by darkening the center? Like, just like you have a dot on there and that's it?
Just a little dot. Yep. Okay. So you can reference back to it. You got it. Because the thing about this shape is it fractalizes infinitely. So you can really just kind of go at any points, but we're going to try to stay connected to this center for the purpose of the seed, right? All right. So we've got our first central circle. Now we're going to place our compass right here at the bottom vertical. Right? So where this red dot is, we're going to place the compass point there and create the second circle. All right. compass point goes on the bottom. I say vertical because it's just, you know, central, bottom point of that original circle. Now my dot changes because I'm showing you where to put the compass point, but we want to focus on the central circle. We're going to be building the shape around it. So these two circles create that shape, the Vesica Pisces. We'll go back to that in a couple weeks. But what we've given ourselves is two intersection points right here on the right and the left where the circles intersect. We're going to build to the left and we're going to choose that intersection point as the next compass point, right? So compass point goes at the intersection of the two circles on the left, and you draw your third circle. All right. So we've got the two circles that give us the intersection point, and the circles are always showing us, right? It's going to be the same step every time where the circle that we're making intersects with that central circle. And right up here, you can see it gives us another intersection point, right? So right up here is where the compass is going to go, right? Okay. How's it going, Dana? I see some frustrated looks. Is it going okay?
Oh. I'm still just, I feel very awkward with the compass. You know, I feel like, I didn't realize I looked frustrated. I'm over here like concentrating and biting my lip and stuff. Sorry. I'm very happy.
No, Zoom is strangely voyeuristic where I can see you guys and it is a little awkward, but it only helps to check in with everybody. I actually would prefer that everybody was off mute so I can hear the little voice, you know, noises that we make, but it's okay. Bad enough that we're all vulnerable like this.
Okay.
So we've got this intersection at the top now after the third circle, right? Up here, right where my dot is, my red dot, that's where the compass point's going to go. And it's going to give you that fourth circle, right? And then exact same pattern as we move along, that fourth circle created another intersection at the top, right? And that's where your compass point's going to go the next time, right? And it's this pattern that goes round and around, right?
Okay.
So compass point goes at the top, and that creates this circle at the top, and you start to get a hang of it, right? And this is the first one you've done. So lots of compassion, lots of setting the critical voice aside as much as possible, knowing that it's going to be here no matter what.
I've run out of space.
You've run out of space?
I must have done it wrong.
No. You just probably eyeballed a little bit. Wait, hang on. Oh, Nancy, hang on. Let me do that again. Hang on a second. Show me again what you got.
So can
pull
you
it
see
back
that?
a little bit. Yeah, pull it back a little bit. Yeah, yes, perfect. Now, okay, thank you for using yourself as an example. Now, what you've got is you volunteered for the demonstration. Thank you. So the circle on the bottom, right? You can see your center circle, right?
Mhm.
And then you've got a circle that's connected to it, another circle that's connected to it, and then there's one going down to the bottom. Do you want to erase that
Yeah.
one? Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Or to the top, actually. But yes.
Oh, is it
Okay.
to the
to your-
top? Just go ahead and erase that one. No harm, no foul.
Okay.
And
Good.
then hold it up again. I'll make sure that you know where your next compass point wants to be.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's see if I can.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So give me your right finger and then just touch that intersection closest to it.
This is-
Yep. Just go to the intersection point closest to your right finger, and that's where your compass point goes. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Yep. So that's why we actually darken in the center circles, because we're going to stay connected to that center, right? Here's the beautiful metaphysical aspect, right? Staying connected to the center. And like I said, because this thing fractals off, it's really easy to do what Nancy did. So Nancy, thank you for demonstrating. That was a very important point. And you'll have that circle at the top now, and then the compass point finds that intersection. Same thing. Last step that maybe some of us were at is that the second to last intersection point with that circle on the top creates the compass point at the intersection. And then down here on the bottom right, you'll see it creates this big divot, right? Looks a little different, but that's where the compass point goes to make that final circle, right? So just this, and then you'll be able to fill in that last. All right, Carrie, hang on. We'll come out. We'll all hold up and we'll see them. But it looks like you're smiling. And did you get it? Is that great?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. All right, Dana's looks like
I'm
we.
erasing.
Okay.
Just to be honest, I'm erasing the practice circles off of it right now.
Okay.
They were in the way.
Okay.
Okay.
A new page.
All right.
Yeah, I'm still screwed up here.
All
Let's
right.
see.
Coming on here. Show me what you got. All right. Pull it back a little bit, Nancy. I do not believe you are screwed up at all. You have that last divot point. No, it looks like you've got it. What are you missing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you
nothing. I guess I'm okay.
Okay. Awesome.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We still need one more circle.
The center one is the 7th circle. Center
Okay.
one. You got it. So now, boy, Nancy's just leading us off here. Now, usually what will happen is there will be this assessor going like, oh, I've done it wrong. You've more often than not, you've done it right. It's just all new. And it does everybody, did we get it? Did we get the 7 circles? Okay. Awesome. Can we just do a collective hold up to the side and see them? And it's, oh my God, look at it. So beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's the same thing every time. And it's never a dull moment. What do you guys think? What comes up when you look at it? What's your experience?
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. I think the red dot in the center is very helpful because I've tried to do this before and I get confused on where the center is. And having that there really just kept me centered.
Yeah.
Very
Perfect,
nice.
right? Beautiful metaphor. Yeah. Sawa, we got thumbs up. Awesome. Feels good. Okay.
Joyful.
Awesome. All right, Carol, looking good? Feeling good. Feeling good's the other thing. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. It looks to me like everybody has, okay, so I'm holding this back. Everybody has more of these little petals than I do. See, I can only see.
You need a circle at the top. Yes.
Oh,
you need
okay,
a circle at the
okay.
top. Or is it your bottom? Is it your bottom? There's a divot that's either at the top or the bottom.
Okay, hold on. I'm not sure where the divot is. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Okay. I think I got it.
Yeah.
Yes. I think I've got it. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, sometimes circles are lighter than darker, and I thought you had yours in there because you've got the rest of it.
Yeah. I do have it now. I see what you're saying. Cool.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, right? So here's the
Mhm.
place where I would like to have 3 hours so that we could pause and meditate with the seed, right? And I want to encourage you to take a couple breaths. Let's actually just do it. We'll just take 1 or 2, just pause and see if we can feel it, right? Just, you can either feel yourself right now and do a little check-in with eyes closed or gaze, sort of soft eyes at the shape and just tune in, see what's happening. Shift from the left brain into the experiential. Beautiful. I want to make sure we have time for the last 2 shapes. Otherwise, I would pause here and go, hey, what do you feel? I need more. But part of the reason that it works to do this in a class setting is because if you are feeling like rock solid and you go ahead and you spin, you got all the circles and you get to the shape, the thing about it is that's only an invitation to drop in with it. If we pause with someone, like you've got the gist of it, you get to the seed or you get to the geometry. Use that opportunity for meditation. Use it to pause, right? It's part of why the group process works. Okay, so I will always invite that. And let's see. Okay, so we're going to do the next one. We're going to do a little muscle memory here. Now the next one will come a little bit easier, but no rush. We're going to do another one, right? So fresh piece of paper. Yeah, Dana.
Dumb question. So I
thing?
have everything in the book and I kind of want to keep it in the book so I can look at the progression.
Yep.
But is it easier to take it out? I have like this little drawing mat. I mean, how would you do it? Do you leave it in the book, the paper in the book, instead of like
Yeah,
the page, or tear it out?
Either way, I also like to keep them in the notebook, but then also like if you're spinning the page underneath, it can be easier just to have the paper.
Well, these are pop in and out, so I'm just going to take it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I can put it back in. Okay,
Yeah, and
sorry,
you know-
guys, dumb question.
No, there's no such thing. And the thing is you're finding your way. So maybe you tear one out this time, you don't like it. The next time you keep going, right? It's just, you're not locked in, and we can always shift up new neural pathways.
Well, I don't know, like, I mean, are you writing on the back of the page, or I guess whatever we want, huh?
I know, whatever you want. It's true.
Sorry, overthinking it. Yes, overthinking it.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty as well. No, fresh sheet of paper, whether it's in the pad or flying single. We're going to do that shape again, right? We're going to start. This one's going to turn into something else. We're going to build on it, but I'll go back to that progression. And Dana, genuinely, honestly, sincerely, there is no such thing as a dumb question. I know it sounds campy, but the thing is that we're all learning from each other. So when you're asking for your process, you're validating everybody else's like questioning or wondering, or you're going, oh, she's asking questions. I'll ask questions. I mean, it's really important that we're just doing what we're doing.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
Please. It's invaluable is what I should say. So your compass width will not change. We're going to stay at 2.5 inches wide. The radius is 2.5 inches wide. That's going to give us a 5-inch diameter circle, 5-inch wide circle, starting at the center of the page. If you want to measure it, great. If you want to eyeball, whatever you're comfortable with, go ahead and make that first circle. Even already, it's starting to get a little bit more familiar. Maybe not comfortable yet, but familiar, like, okay, I'm getting this. And again, darken in that center point, right? So that we've got that point of origin. Yeah. And the thing is, we're going to do a compass point at the bottom. We're all going to do it the same way. So that gives us the same orientation for the shape. But technically, you could start anywhere on the circle. You could put the compass point down anywhere, but we're doing it the same together on the bottom vertical and getting that second point or second circle.
I don't understand what you're saying. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying.
Oh, okay. Well, technically, we could put the compass down anywhere on the circle, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing it so that we get the same orientation. We're all putting our compass at the same place. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so that dot is not, that dot is the center that it started with?
No, this is your center and your dot will be here. I use the dot to show us.
Okay, what was confusing. I got it. I'm okay.
I know it's a tough choice.
Good.
It's a tough choice, and this one ends up being more helpful. Believe me, I've tried to sort that one out.
Okay.
So now, thank you for clarifying. So now we've got our 2 circles, hopefully, and we've got the intersection points on the left and right. So choose the one on the left and build clockwise. Technically, you could choose either one again, but we're going to all choose the one on the left, build that 3rd circle, right?
Okay.
Okay, and then that's going to give us the intersection point at the top, right? You just literally have the keys to drawing the universe by knowing that the circle that you've just drawn intersects with the central circle and gives you the next compass point, right? Like that's all you need. Just keep building it. Just keep doing it around the circle, right? So once you get a circle built, it gives you the next intersection point, right? It's just that pattern again and again and again. If we wanted to, we could launch into the flower of life, but we're not going to. That's actually a little harder than it sounds. Next intersection point, right? Just building around. It's that same pattern, building around the center. I mean, it's that metaphor for life, right? Staying centered. Otherwise, we can just go off into the abyss of fractalized intelligence, right? Is everybody moving along with it okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not going too fast. Great. Right. All right. Little flare on that, Carol. Nice. I caught that just in time. I shifted my screen. Lovely. All right. And then once if you get that shape, and I really do like to try to be inclusive in the pacing, take the opportunity. How many opportunities do we have in our day to breathe, right? And feel and sense into it, because this shape it's not just 7 circles. Somewhere our consciousness is recognizing and registering this is us. I think you're probably all familiar with Dr. Bruce Lipton and, epigenetics and the power of belief. And he talks about the fact that 5% of our waking reality is governed by our conscious mind. I mean, this is deeply troublesome. 95% governed by our subconscious mind, right? So when we're drawing the geometry, we are tapping into the 95%. We're getting a little bit, we're going to shift that percentage just a little bit. Terry, or no, sorry, Nancy, are you good? Or is that heads and hands confused? Or, all right, Terry's got it. All right, we all got it? We got
We're
our
done.
seed? Well done. Rock on. You guys look, there it is. Just like that. All right, beautiful. So now we're going to pause with just a little bit more information. Dana, awesome. I love it. And it's the same geometry, but if you noticed at the sneak peek, it looks different with everybody, right? Because, how hard we draw the lines is maybe how strong we're feeling or how light and how fragile, and the colors we choose. And it's all very important and significant. So always worth a good moment of introspection. But very quickly, not quickly, I just don't like to rush, but we got to get so much in. Okay, so seed of life. And here we go. Now we're going to draw the sunflower, right? And I call it the sunflower. It's really user-friendly. We'll break it down, right? But the deal is when you take out this central circle, right? We're going to have that central circle. If you take out the central circle, you start to get some of the dimensionality, right? This starts to look like, oh, there's a point we can go. The deal is this is the two-dimensional version of this, right? Right? Is somebody jumping in or are we just happy? Okay.
Wow.
Right? So we're going to be drawing the shape of our toroidal field, right? This is our electromagnetic system. This is the geometry of the intelligence that is, coming into us, being processed and going out to share with the universe, right? It actually has a spin. But as we're drawing this geometry, some part of our electromagnetics are being turned on. And we're connecting with our fields, which gives us more conscious awareness of how we interface with reality, because everything has that field. Crop circle. Everything has that electromagnetic interface, right? So when you are drawing, you're beginning to bring awareness to your field. You're beginning to bring awareness to the influence of other fields, right? This is just one small step for energetic, sophisticated movement in the world, right? It's happening quietly. The more, Nancy, the more you begin to create your own mandalas, this is what we're doing, right? We're bringing our awareness to that. So what that's going to look like, yeah?
Wow.
Yeah, very exciting. But just to cycle back, this crop circle is amazing. This is, the sunflower is going to be a 12-fold geometry. This is that doubled. So this is a 24-fold geometry, right? So we can just fractal, we can just keep increasing the iterations and expanding. Okay, so we've got our seed. Now, give it a listen here before you do anything, because this is the tricky step. Everybody always wants to draw the line. We're not drawing the line. Okay, so take your ruler and using the outer divots, right? Using the divots of the seed, you're going to line your ruler up from bisecting the shape, right? You're going to go outer divot to outer divot, just lining the ruler up, not drawing a line. It's going to create, it's going to bisect the inner petals, right? It's going to go between the inner petals. What you want to do is make the mark where the intersection of the circle and the ruler would be, right? So on both sides of the circle, top and bottom, just making that mark. That's all we want is 2 marks on the top and the bottom. And that's on the left axis, right? And then you're going to do the same thing, pivoting on the right diagonal, on the right axis, lining the ruler up with these divot points, not drawing the line, but just finding the points and darkening them in, making these 6 points you'll see here. We're going to do the right diagonal, the left diagonal, and then you're going to do it again on the horizontal, right? So measuring all those divots across from each other. And what we're doing is we're drawing the next compass points for that sunflower. Okay. Great. So we've got these 12 points and you might have gone ahead, but put your compass at each one of those points and it's going to give you this. Try not to stop and look at it because halfway through it'll look a little off. So just keep, putting your compass point at each of those 6 points. What you'll notice, which is super cool, is that the circle that you make starts to intersect with the next point that we made, right? So you start to see some of that cool symmetry. We just do it this way, right? As you get to be total pro, you wouldn't need to measure all 6 points because you could simply measure 1 point and it would give you
Excuse me. So
Yeah.
you need to do it. Could you go back and show the lines that we don't? Okay, gotcha.
no lines. You didn't draw the lines.
No,
though.
I know, but
Okay.
I didn't draw the lines, but just the points. Okay. And
Just
then
the
you
points.
can start at any of those points and start making the circles.
Yep.
that
Any
right?
of them. Any of them. Yep.
So I'm going to go off the sides if I go to the outside points. I'm just
How do you make? Let me see what you got.
okay. So are you talking about making a circle here, or you're just
Oh.
doing the circles from here?
The inner 6 points that we just made.
That's the ones we're doing.
So
Got
we're
it.
using those. We're going for the inner circle orientation, right?
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I'm
And
confused.
no. The thing is this is all brand new, and there's either no wrong way, or when you feel yourself going like, oh man, I'm slow, I'm doing all this. Part of what I love to do is use my skills as a therapist, and really make this inclusive and hold space for those voices that do come up, and just acknowledge them because they're an inevitable part of creative expression, right? We've been told we're not artists. We've been told that art is a waste of time. We have all of these judgy programs going on in there. So this class hopefully is reparative of that, right? And so there's lots of different processes where if we are acknowledging that critical voice, it may not go away. We can at least start to invite the positive voices, right? So anytime you notice yourself going, oh my God, I'm not doing this wrong, I'm not doing this right, or here, look, this doesn't line up, give it a appreciation of what it's doing well, right? I'm going to invite that the whole time, all 8 weeks. It'll be like, okay, we not always, but we usually lead showing a piece of creative expression by going, here's what I don't like about it. So that's hard to get away from. So just at least follow it up with, here's what I really like about it. And I will be annoying every time and invite that. So we got all 12 circles. Does everybody get their, look at that thing. Isn't that cool? Look what you just did. All right,
Can you
Dana.
show it a bit? Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
show
sorry.
it, whatever you want. Oh, it's beautiful.
Wait,
Yeah.
did I get them all?
What's
I
that?
think I got them all. I think I got them all.
Put them all.
Okay.
Yeah. Wonderful. Way to do it. You can always count that 12 is how to know how we got them all, right? For
Yeah.
sure. Okay. Carol, how you doing? Looks a little profound in there. Is it going all right? Beautiful. What do you think?
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Loving it. Carol, love it?
Yeah, I love it. I'm starting to see stuff when I close my eyes. So I got to stay present though.
There you go.
I'm already ready to take off.
Yep. Take a nice deep breaths. All right. Nancy, compass is down. I see. How's it going? Did you get it?
It's good. It's not perfect, but it's good. It's really nice.
This is not graphic design. It will never be perfect, but it is really nice. We'll go for that. Quite beautiful.
What's the name of this one?
So I
again?
just call it the sunflower, but
sunflower.
toroidal fields, right? So it's TOROIDAL, toroidal field is our electromagnetic field, right? Okay. Now just know that the only way I have of knowing when everybody's done is when heads come up. So please do not let me rush you. That is the thing I lose with not being in the classroom. Okay, so actually, Dana, this is a really important point. If you kept your piece, this sunflower on the pad, or if you didn't, you want to line it up with a paper beneath it. So if it's in the pad of paper, we're going to focus on the paper underneath it right now. okay? Because we're going to give ourselves a template for doing the star, right? We're not going to go do all of that again. What we're going to do is each of these divots on the outside, does everybody know what I mean when I'm saying the divots, right? The inner points. There's 12 of those. So what we're going to do is take our compass and point through. Sorry, that confuses it. Use these intersection points, like puncture through the paper, and then give yourself 12 points on the next piece of paper underneath that. So this is giving us a template. So just using your compass point, nice and solid, puncture through the paper, give yourself 12 points on the next paper. And then once you've got them, darken them in. And this takes a minute, right? Sometimes they're really faint. You got to find them. Yeah.
I screwed up.
No.
I put the sunflower on the back of the seed of life. So now if I put the points through, I'm on my cover.
Oh, if you're all right with ripping that piece of paper off, that would be the solution, to just flip it, and then you have a piece of paper. You can start fresh, draw another seed at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I got it.
Yep. There you go. Nice solid puncture through, and we're going to get 12 points going around. Take your time. And, like I said, it can be, if you have dim lighting, they can be hard to see, but give yourself a darkening in of all 12 points, because those are going to be our reference points for drawing the star. What I like to do, the reason I like to do these two together is to see that it's based in the seed, but also we're going to have these 12 circles, these, divine feminine aspects, right? Divine feminine, divine masculine. We all are on the spectrum. We all have them both. So we'll see the sort of rounded floating feminine of the 12 circles, and then it's going to be matched by the linear lines of the 12-pointed star, and they complement each other. And sometimes I used to do the 12-pointed star on the back of the sunflower, so you could see the parallels. You can see it this way too, but it's more fun to have two separate pieces of it. Okay, so we got the 12. All right, working on it. Great.
Okay.
Are we keeping the compass at 2.5 inches?
We're just using the point to puncture it. We're actually done with
I
the
know.
compass.
I know.
We're
I'm sorry, I got ahead.
Oh.
Never mind.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So 12 points on the next paper, which will look like this. I have the circle here. You do not need to have the circle here. If you wanted to go back into your seed or your sunflower and point through the center points and draw the circle, you could, but that's not part of today. This is what mine look like. Now, here's the thing. My upper dot is at 12 o'clock, right? Yours will be just to the right at more like 12:30. All right. So it's not going to match this exactly, but you want 12 points that look like this. So I'm going to come out of screen share. I want to just make sure we've all got it. Does everybody have their 12 points? Fabulous. Fun. Okay. Here we go. So fun. All right. So the first step is, I know it's ridiculous. So we're going to start from the top, and you're going to take your ruler and you're just going to connect. You make lines from every dot to every dot, right? Connecting every point, creating this beautiful seashell symmetrical shape. And starting at the top, again, yours will be angled a little bit to the right, but just starting and creating vector segments, as they're also known, from the top, center. And we're literally connecting all the dots, right? This is one of the shapes where we will be doing that. And this is, I love circles and lines, but there is a part of me that is so deeply satisfied with the lines. And so you will come to recognize over the weeks, which one you resonate with. If it's lovely to have a balance, I'm just noticing the energetic of the different shapes, right? Whether, the lines feel stronger or the circles feel stronger. This really is representative of the divine masculine and divine feminine energies within us, right? Again, we are drawing ourselves. So once you've got that, we're going to do the same step, the exact same pattern from every single point around the circle, right? So from every point will be the starting origin, just like this one. And what that's going to give us is this, okay? So every single point will be that same pattern that connects each dot to each dot, right? So it's simply this pattern moving around and having different origins, right? It might take a minute to just get the hang of it, but it's just like the seed of life. Once you get the pattern, it will repeat itself. You'll get it, right? So once you've got this point, just or this pattern, is going to the point just to the right of it, moving clockwise, right? Just moving clockwise and then making the next point the origin point where you start to connect all the
Oh God.
Oh no, what? Now, Nancy, if you're erasing mine, don't.
I'm erasing.
Okay, don't.
Because I can't get to the right point.
Okay.
It's so frustrating.
All right. Well, the thing is all of the lines will actually fill in a magical kind of way. So you might not have to erase.
Okay.
You'd like to.
I gotta believe in magic.
Believe
Okay.
it. Yeah. Okay. I'll put this up so you can reference it, right? Here's the shape, but it is going to end up like this. Once you start that pattern from every point.
I think my problem is my ruler.
Well, I will tell you.
It's got a sticky part on it, so it kind of keeps doing weird shit. Okay, there. I'm okay.
Nothing like weird shit. So the thing is also like when it seems like it's not working or it's just not happening, like this is the first time we're doing this, you know, it's gonna be a little bumpy. You don't have the hang of it yet, you know, probably haven't picked up a ruler in a while. So, you know, just bringing in that compassionate place, maybe even that playful place where it's, you know, all related. I tend to be very hard on myself and a perfectionist, which is why I tend to speak to these inner voices. Terry, how's it going?
Yeah. Okay. So what did we do after we drew the lines?
Okay. So then, right. So you've got all the lines coming from the top. Do I see that right?
Yep.
Okay. So then pivot to the next point to the right and then do the same pattern. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You got it. Mm-hmm. Right. Just choosing the next origin point clockwise. Now, this one is really, I think, enjoyable for the meditation aspect, right? This is the one where by the second or third origin point, you've got the gist of it. And your left brain, you can have a little bit of space. Your left brain can kind of take over and maybe you can take an extra breath, like maybe between lines or even when you start from a new origin point, right? Like,
could you put up the full picture again? Let me see something real quick.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
By the time you get to the bottom point, you will notice that some lines start to already be complete, right? And you can skip those. So this shape fills itself in. And this is a really great example of new neural pathways being created. And a lot of times we will have blank spots and we will be missing lines that we can't even see, right? It's fascinating. So at the end, I'll give you this tip again, because you're all still drawing. The way you can check to see if you have all the lines is that there should be 11 lines coming from each point. More often than not, there are not all 11 lines. It is more common that we miss some lines because this is reflecting our neurobiology. It's reflecting our pathways and we have blind spots and we've been cut off. So we are reconnecting our neural networks.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I got 11.
Woohoo! You got 11 from each one, from each point?
No, I've
Okay.
I've only done 1 point, please. I'm just starting.
Well done. Well done. Got it. All right. So does it
Oh.
make sense to go to the next one to the right and do the same process?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Perfect. All right. So we'll give it another minute because this one is the same pattern. Usually by this time in the class, we only, I want to put pause to the drawing and just do a little check-in. So we will move towards sort of completing with an incomplete shape that then hopefully compels you to complete it after the class. And so you anchor that process of doing it on your own just to finish the shape. But it's the same process from each point. So if you've got the hang of it by now, you can go ahead and finish it. And like I said,
Yes.
some lines will, repeat themselves. So that's a correct thing. You're on the right track. And as we move towards coming back together to just share and reflect, what I want to show you is this next geometry, not to be intimidating by any means, but to just blow your minds as to what is also possible when we talk about fractalizing, right?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Oh,
one of the students, we did the 12-pointed star. She's like, oh my God, I got to go for it. And this is what happened. She just kept going iteration after iteration. And so we will, I will always invite the basic foundation, right? And then you can be with that and the perfection of that shape. You can riff, you can take yourself wherever the art wants to take you. It will always be welcome. I would just love to hear a little closing thought from everybody, and then we will we'll wrap up, and I will send PDFs so you can get right back into it. Any thoughts or reflections? If you want to share what you got, I know it's incomplete probably, but how's everybody doing? All right,
was
isn't that cool?
What
Isn't
was
that
the
a
name?
cool point?
What was the name of this last one?
This is the Dodecagon, right?
Can you spell that?
Yes, yes. So dodec is DODEC.
Uh-huh.
And then like a polygon, it's a dodecagon. So AGON, right? So this is a polygon. It's an enclosed geometry, and it's a dodec, which is 12-sided, right?
12.
Dodecagon. Yeah. All right. Isn't that cool? We paused like 3 or 4 points into it, which is its own cool geometry, right? Like, isn't that super awesome? All right. So a word, just a closing word or a summary word from everybody. How's it going? Just 1 or 2 thoughts. Close the circle together. Yeah,
I
Carol.
really enjoyed doing this last. I enjoyed all of them, but I was really like getting lost in this Dodecagon.
Nice.
And
Pro.
yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing it, and I could see how it would be very enjoyable to just like you say, riff with it and just go and just get lost in it. And yeah.
Cool.
And by
Yeah.
the way, I love that piece behind you too very much. And you said we're going to leave with an actual finished piece, and I'm looking at that going, I want to do one like that. I don't know.
that was hard. That's a 6x6 Sri yantra, and that's its own workshop. But
Oh, okay.
that is a shape that I am dedicated to, and we can absolutely do that. I'll plug my workshop. I have a 4-hour Sri yantra workshop where we draw that.
Okay, I'll do
June
that.
11th. Yeah, coming up June 11th. So you'll have all the practice underneath you. Perfectly
June
comfortable.
11th. Okay, good.
June 11th.
Where do
awesome.
we find the sign up for that?
The sign up is
Oh.
on my website. So I'll put that in the screenshot. You know what? I'll put that. It's at the bottom of every email. So you can, but I'll put the direct Eventbrite link into the email because that'd be awesome to have you there. Let me quote to myself. I always have one. Okay.
Stopping.
Yeah.
I know what else I was going to say.
Yeah.
I forgot to say.
Okay.
Clear ruler, I find helpful. I don't know. I mean, then I sharpened my pencil and made a big difference on really getting very precise on finding that dot. Otherwise, it just wasn't, lined up exactly right. Those
Yeah.
are my 2 cents.
Oh, those are very, very good sense. The sharpening of the pencil makes a profound difference. Thank you for starting us off early with that, especially when we get to polygons.
Oh,
Yeah, and taking a moment for precision is a wonderful practice, and also not right whole spectrum. And you're reminding me also. I have to go get them. There are two things that I never want to make it a requirement off the start, but 2 things that you could get, and I could run and get them. But one is they're fine tipped erasers. So there's one of those clicky erasers that's the size of the pencil. Are they over there? 1 second. Highly recommend that eraser, and then also yeah, once we get into the finer shapes, it's really helpful. This is the clicky pen eraser in addition to the block one that you have, but then this is the coolest thing ever. So this is a tiny, tiny eraser, right? Little clicky pen eraser, and it's really, really useful for fine lines. The company is called, and I'll put this in the email as well. The company is called Tombow, Tombow. There's also like a generic one at Staples usually, but this is a really cool one. So recommend that. Let me put that in the email.
have you seen the eraser like that comes in a pen, but it rotates?
I have not.
Oh,
I have
it just automatically, so you just press it down and you don't have to do any rubbing. It just rotates automatically.
All right. I'll look into that.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
great.
it requires a battery. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, I guess so, or you charge it or something. Yeah, it is electric.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
Oh, there you go. I
Professional.
don't know how fine they are, but that is one type of eraser. Probably get the really fine one.
I like to color, so this is what I've got, and you just
Look at
push
you
it
with all
and-
the tools. That's
Wow.
very nice. You got a lot of artistic tools for somebody who doesn't think they can do art, huh? You can.
do.
Look at you. You're
I
doing
just
so
want
well.
to do it. I have a little brush to brush off.
Oh,
Love it.
So
All right.
yeah,
We've got a couple minutes, so thank you, Dana. And Terry, did you go? No, you were just
I had-
talking about the tree. Okay,
I
yeah.
just had a question. So
Yeah.
as we're doing this, it seems like you were mentioning or alluding to that if we have something, going on in the mind, neurologically, that this will help to kind of connect the dots, kind of put things back in order. It actually changes the physical body.
Yep.
And that's what I heard from that lady that went to the hospital and had a heart thing, and then she took your class, and then that really caught my attention that
Oh,
it
yeah.
seemed- yeah, she did a testimony in your little intro one about how then when she went back, it was healed. So
Oh, steady.
evidently
Yeah.
something was off, in her physiology, and then her taking your last 8-week class seemed to fix that. So that's what you're saying, is that this goes in and just naturally aligns something or puts something back that got disconnected or something.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, this is wonderful. I love it.
yeah.
Yeah, we in the class 3 or 4, we'll see in the Flower of Life, when you build the seed out, we do 4 more rings of that, right? It takes some practice. Once you build the seed out, when we have 4 rings of circles, you will see cut down the middle. Half of the shape will be organized, the other half will be disorganized, and it's reflective of the 2 hemispheres of the brain. It's fascinating. I had a woman take the class twice who had had a stroke and was repatterning her neural pathways. It's very real. It's very real.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I'm curious in the original cells that we have,
Mhm.
isn't there 8 down by the navel? That's where they reside, those original 8s, but they're 8. But yet when we're doing the seed of life, there's 7. And I have to go back and look. Why is there a difference in the numbers? Do you remember?
The difference is there's the 8. There are the 8, and that's called the fruit of life. That's one of the iterations just past the seed. But we're using The seed technically actually doesn't have that center circle, but that's how you build it, right? So the one that you saw that I showed that was black and white in the PowerPoint, it's really the 6 circles we're talking about, the 7, and we use it so that can be interchangeable. You'll also see that a lot of different things are called the flower of life. So great point, great question. There's a lot more to it. And thanks for mentioning it. There's so much to all of this, and I will do the best I can in an intro class to sort of lay the foundation for the true potential of what there is.
Wow, this is awesome.
Cool. I'm so glad. Sawa, how are you doing? I saw a lot of happy head nodding. Yeah, everything is good.
Yes, so nice. So I'm enjoying very, very much. Oh, beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Yes.
So, Nancy, Carol heard from you, right? Did we today a closing thought? No, I just thought you were going to pop in. Yeah. How are you doing?
No, I just said it's so satisfying. It's actually addictive. I'm determined to finish it now.
Yeah.
It is addicting. Yeah.
Addictive.
In a
Yeah.
good way.
Yeah. In a good way, because what we're compelled by is that feeling of harmony. It is literally aligning and creating that
Completion.
Yeah. Completion. Yeah. Beautiful. All right. And then Nancy, did you have an additional thought? I always like to really respect everybody's time, try to end at the hour.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I find the making the lines is more frustrating than using the compass, but I think as I practice, it'll get better. I'm very excited. I was so nervous, and I think I'm going to really, really like it. I think I'm caught. You got it. You hooked me.
The geometry hooked you. I am of service. Yeah, but it's not that hard. We just do it step by step, and it works out, right? And practice does help. And what I will prepare you, I will prepare you that I will start off every class by going, hey, did anybody draw anything? Or did you notice, right? It doesn't have to be that you drew something, but just bringing the geometry to the forefront, right? Maybe you ordered a book or you saw something that you didn't see before. It's just a starting check-in to really begin to generate it during the week and generate it in your life. And no harm, no foul, no problem. If you didn't have a minute to breathe and you're just showing up to class, that's its own miracle, right? So I'm honored. It is a pleasure. I will just send everything right to you. I'll send the syllabus, all the different things. We took notes, so I'll send that right over to you. Look for the email flow into being, that is me, and give me, a couple minutes. What I'll do is I'll send the info, and then later I'll send the recording because it takes Zoom some time and I have to head on my way. Okay, thank you all. I will see you next week. So appreciate you. Happy drawing and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye,
Thank you
guys.
all.